everyone, it's Angel from the future. Ooh. So for this video, we're going to be doing a reading vlog where I'm going to read a bunch of books. At least that was the plan. Obviously, again, this is me from the future, so I know how much I actually read, but I want to go over what the books were that were planned for the video, and then obviously you'll see what I do end up reading in the actual video and what I end up finishing, and then we'll talk about it more in the ending of the video and how everything went. But thank you guys so much for watching. So we're going to be reading a few books. I started reading Small Spaces in this video, Wilder Girls, episode 13, Dearest, and none of this is true. This is actually the book that we'll start the video off with. So we are going to have a wonderful adventure reading all of these books. But I hope that you guys enjoy the video, and I'll talk with you more in the end, future end of this video. It is, what is today? Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. My daughter's sleeping here. So I'm going to continue reading None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I started reading this on the 16th. I haven't really vlogged that. It was supposed to be part of this stack of books I want to read for November. So sorry if y'all can hear her. She's trying to go to sleep, so she's making a lot of noises. But I made a stack for November of books I wanted to read, and this was not one of them, but I remembered that I had the audiobook with Libby, so I was like, well, I have the physical book. I would like to tandem read it. I find tandem reading to be a little bit more fast and efficient, so I got this book to start reading with that since I had that audiobook. And then the other book, one of the other books that I'm also trying to prioritize reading is We Used to Live Here, because everyone and their mom is talking about this book and how great and awesome it is. So because of that, I want to read it. I'm also just now noticing that it was blurbed by Nick Cutter, which is a pen name for, I think his name's Daniel, but I can't remember. But either way, I love Nick Cutter's The Troop book, and so that's really cool. I read one other book by him. It was Devil something, I can't remember, but that was also one of my favorite books by him as well. I tried reading The Deep by Nick Cutter. Y'all, that book it was not interesting. I could not get into it. I DNF'd that book. But anyway, these are the two books that I'm trying to read right now. I've started both of them. I was doing a thing where I was reading the first chapter of all the books to just kind of see where my interests were lying. My interests definitely lie with this book and this book as of right now. This one's winning. I'm a fourth of the way through this book, I believe. Actually, I know I'm further than that. I'm 20-something% of the way through. This is really good. It's very interesting. I'm trying to figure out what the not true parts are of this. I'm not going to spoil anything for it, but I am annotating inside of here, which is the first time I've ever annotated a book. I've never done annotations before, but this book there's some things that happen in here that I'm just like, where are we going with this? There's some commentary on some heavy topics, and I'm just like, where are we going? Lisa, what are we doing? Where are we going with that? The premise of this book, though, is Alex is a podcaster, and she makes podcasts about really successful women, and for one reason or another, she starts to do a podcast with this woman who has the same birthday as her. They call themselves birthday twins. They have the same birthday, born in the same hospital. It's such a huge coincidence. And so she decides to do that with her, but their lives kind of start to intertwine in certain ways, and it's just, so far it's very interesting. One of the characters is telling her story of her life to Alex, and it's just very interesting. I'm very interested to see where this is gonna go. This was a book of the month pick, obviously, that I got. I am subscribed to Book of the Month, I think they're pretty great. Not sponsored or anything, obviously, but I like them for the most part. I do skip every now and then. I'm very much a horror book reader. I don't really care for fantasy that much. Don't like romance books. I'm not into romance at all. I don't mind there being romance in a book, but I'm not reading a book because of a romance, if that makes sense. I like the other pieces of it. I will say I know I just said I'm not really a big fantasy reader, but I don't think that's actually accurate. I do like fantasy, but very specific types of fantasy. I wouldn't say I'm a romantasy reader either, because I like Fourth Wing, but I liked it because of the dragons and the contests and the like concept. The second book was not my favorite. I didn't love the second book, not really at all. I know the third book's coming out in January. I have been debating on whether or not I want to order the physical copy, because I have the physical copies of the other two and I have the special edition versions of the other two as well. So I'm like, should I get the special edition of the third book, because I already have the other two books? I am going to read it. I just don't know if I'm going to love it. Like I said, the second book was not as great as the first book for me for Fourth Wing, but I do like some fantasy, but I'm just not super fantasy driven. Either way, I do like thriller. I'm just not a huge thriller person. I am a horror person, which is why we're reading this. Most of my bookshelf is horror books, so there's that. But anyway, we came here to update. I'm reading None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I will update you once I get further into it and let you know how I'm feeling about it, if I'm still liking it or not. It is very like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? What's going on for me? So I'm enjoying my time. I just don't know. I'm still, I don't know. At the same time I'm doing this, I subscribed to Gavin Reads It All's Patreon. So I am doing a Patreon sprint with Gavin right now, which is really fun. So I'm gonna keep reading this while we do the Patreon sprint and just hang out until it's time for me to feed my daughter again. I'll see you guys then. So it's been a while since my last recording. I finished reading None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. Finished that, I think, yesterday. I can't keep up with time anymore, but finished that. Overall, ended up getting it a 4.5 star rating. I think that it was good. Obviously, I gave it a 4.5 stars. I think the only piece where it fell flat for me being a 5 star, what I would have liked to have seen for it to be a 5 star would have been if the book had ended more clearly. And I don't want to give away spoilers, so that's all I'm going to say about it, but the way that it ended, just unsatisfying for me. So yeah, there's that. I did like the way that she ended it. The whole book was like oh my gosh, I guessed a lot of the things. So it wasn't like a mystery thriller that if you're not new to mystery thrillers that you would like not see coming. Like the author definitely gave you like a lot of hints and clues and pieces here and there throughout the book. So it's not something where I was like, oh, I didn't expect that, or oh, I didn't see that coming. Like I saw most of it coming. The detail of what happened is not necessarily something I predicted, but the like raw detail of what happened I saw coming. It was also the first book that I ever annotated, so I ended up annotating that book. It was a silly fun time. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I don't really know what other book girlies do when it comes to like annotating or writing things in their books. Like I don't know how literary they're being or, you know, things like that. However, for me, I just highlighted and wrote notes about the things that I saw, whether that be silly decisions that the characters were making, whether that be interesting quotes or thoughts that I thought were interesting, or pieces where I was like, I think that because of this piece here, this is what I think is going to happen in the future. So a lot of stuff like that, me just like writing out that. I will say this book had some heavy content in it, which I was not expecting at all when I started the book. I thoroughly expected for it to just be like a mystery thriller, but it did touch on some deeper topics. Not that that's a bad thing. I think that was really good. I just also think that like some of the pieces that they talked about were a little bit trigger warning things for people. So if you're going to read the book, I would definitely recommend looking at the trigger warnings for it before you read it. But overall, I thought it was good. There were some pieces in there. The reason I bring that up is because there were pieces in there that I felt like were yucky. Yucky to say the least. As far as social commentary is concerned, there were just some things where they were talking about, so one of the triggers is domestic violence. They're talking about that in the book, and it was just kind of like the way that it was being discussed, like it was yucky. I think that what ends up happening in the book is the reason why it felt that way in the beginning, but I will say like I still think that the commentary and like some of the language used was very just yucky for me. I just didn't like it. But generally speaking, I thought the book was really good. I thought it was written really well. I would potentially be interested in picking up something else from Lisa Jewell. It was honestly a pretty quick read. It did take me a week, but that's also because I'm a new mom and I'm trying to balance reading with a newborn at the same time. So I can only read so much at a time, but yeah, I thought that was really good. So moving on to my next book. The next book I have is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer. I'm butchering it. By this man. Sorry to this man. But I'm reading We Used to Live Here. I'm really excited to read this one. For my TBR for this month, I did go through and list a bunch of books, and then I went through and read like the first chapter of a lot of them. So this is one I read the first few pages. I didn't even read a full chapter. Girl, you don't need to read a few chapters to just immediately like be sucked into this book. It starts from the jump being like, oh my god, what is happening here? I will say our main character, or the owner of the home, if you don't know what this is about, like unspoiler-y as much as I can be, I guess. The synopsis of this book is these people live in this house and this family shows up at her doorstep and is like, hey, we used to live here. I want to show my kids where I used to live. Can I come into your home? And again, I'm how many pages in? I am 4 pages, y'all. 4 pages into this book, and girl, what are you doing? I am so sorry, not sorry, unapologetic. Disrespectfully, I will not be letting anyone into my home. I don't care if you ever lived here, ever. I don't ever care. No, you can't just show up on my doorstep and then come into my home. Y'all, okay, again, it's 4 pages. I feel like that's not a lot of spoiler to tell you about what's happened so far. We don't even know the names of these people, and they're in the front door. I'm sorry. Your family is here, and I don't even know your names. What? Like, what? What are we doing? Your family's in my home, and I don't even know your names. And like the main character, again, 4 pages in, and the main character is like, I make bad decisions sometimes. I need other people to help me not make bad decisions. I'm not loving this main character, not loving the way that she's written, to be quite fair. She's coming off very dumb, very naive. She even acknowledges her own naivete in the first 4 pages. So I'm just like, anyway, these people are in the house. 4 pages in, they're already in the house. So, like I said, I didn't need to read a full chapter because I already want to read this book. It's a very popular book right now. A lot of people are reading this book right now. So I'm excited to like jump into it. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into this book and get started. So I will see you guys when I have an update. My little angel baby here is sleeping. There's my little cuddly boy. Say hi, Onyx. The nosiest little boy there ever was and ever will be. Yeah, he needs a lot of attention these days. He doesn't get a lot of attention because the baby gets all the attention now, but so be it. Okay, so we're in the living room. Baby's sleeping. It is currently 4 o'clock in the morning. This is my new life. This is the timing that I have. I am off right now for maternity leave. He's just so cute. I'm just so cute. Look at me. Oh my gosh. I love him so much. He's my littlest baby. Well, not anymore. You're my biggest baby right now. I am not reading. Currently watching Jen's video, doing her 12-hour readathon video. So, reading. What am I doing? Not anything. Yeah, we're not reading. If we're being honest, I haven't really read. I finished None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell last week. Today it is Tuesday. Obviously it's 4 o'clock in the morning, but it's Tuesday the 26th. I finished that on, I think, Friday, and I haven't really gotten any progress on the rest of the books. However, my goal is to get the rest of these books that I want to read for my November TBR read by the end of the week. I want to read all the books I want to read for November in November. Why is that revolutionary? Because I'm a new mom. First child. Never had a kid before. And I'm trying to figure it all out. I'm trying to balance everything. And it's hard. But I have my stack of books over here on my little mom table. So I started reading more of We Used to Live Here. Honestly, it's not gripping me right now. And I don't know why. But it's not. And I don't know. I feel like I'm also in more of a like watch YouTube videos kind of mood past week and weekend. And so that's what I've been doing instead of reading my books and picking up my books to read them when my daughter's asleep, which I should be doing right now. My husband will be waking up in about an hour or so. So I guess the goal for why I started recording this is I need to make progress. So again, we have all of these books here that I wanted to read. We're not going to read all of them. It's not going to happen before the end of the week. It's just not. But that doesn't mean we stop. It doesn't mean we stop trying, right? Like, we still keep trying. So I'm going to be reading, I think I'm gonna read Wilder Girls because I have the audiobook for it from my library. I'm using Libby, so I have the audiobook for it and I've had it for a while, and I need to go ahead and read it so I can return it so someone else can read the book. I think there's someone else on the wait list for it. I'm gonna go ahead and start with that one because I have an audiobook to accompany it so I can read through it a lot faster. Let's talk about that for a second. One, I like audiobooks as a new mom because I can continue to read a book without having to have the book in my hand. So that's been really helpful. We audio listened to The Secret Life of Addie LaRue. Y'all, that's my favorite book of the year, I think. I think that's gonna be my favorite book of the year. The way it was so gripping. It was so freaking good. That was such a good book. It made me, and also read that book after I had my baby. So talking about the concept of time and death and remembrance was probably more than I needed to be reading postpartum. But nonetheless, it was like one of my favorite books. I would love to read it outside of my hormone-fueled postpartum recovery and see later if that is still something that I am in love with. I do plan to get that book get a physical copy of it because I don't own it physically. I was just like, let me check out the audiobook because I might not want this book. There's a reason everyone hyped it up. There's a reason. But all that to say, the tangent was about audiobooks. All that to say, I personally feel like reading audiobooks to get through reading faster is a wild concept, especially when you're reading in tandem. Like, just like, I don't know, part of me feels like it's not appropriate, or not that it's not appropriate, that's the terrible wording, that it's not, like, what's the goal? I guess, is the goal just to read a bunch of books and just have a bunch of books read, or is it to enjoy the book that you're reading and to like get something from it? And I feel like that should be the goal. So I will say for my December TBR, it's going to be a much smaller list of books because I want to enjoy the books that I'm reading. I don't want to just read books to read a bunch of books. Obviously, I really want to read all of these books here. We've got Dearest, episode 13, We Used to Live Here, Wilder Girls, and Small Spaces. I picked all of them for a reason because I really, really want to read them all. There's just something about them all that has gripped me and made me want to read them. I'm also like a mood reader. Like, I am 100% a mood reader. I read one, when I'm in the mood, but two, based on the mood I'm in. And sometimes I want something easy, silly, goofy, fun. Sometimes I want something really serious and thought-provoking. And so because of that, I'll pick up a book, start reading it, and then be like, I'm not in this mood anymore, and move on. Which is what's happened with the Wilder Girl book. I bought that book probably like a year or two ago now at this point. Started reading it, got 20 pages in, and never came back. Not because it was a bad book, but because it wasn't the mood I was in anymore. So, all that to say, I don't know if audiobooks reading is like my favorite thing. One, I'm not really interested in it from a perspective of trying to read something that is like a social commentary or more something that you're supposed to have like more thought-provoking time with when you're doing other tasks. I cannot focus on audiobooks if I'm doing other things like cleaning my house or anything like that. Like, I've tried that, does not work for me. I can't retain anything I'm hearing. Now I can do it while I'm coloring and doing nothing and just sitting down and like coloring and listening to an audiobook, because that's what I did for Addie LaRue, and that worked out great. But doing an audiobook while trying to like clean my house or take care of my child or make dinner, like, I'm too focused on what I'm trying to do of the task to be able to focus on the words that I'm hearing. At this point, we're 10 minutes into this video, and all I came on here to say was I need to read my books. And what am I not doing? Reading my books. So we're gonna put the camera down. We're gonna read Wilder Girls. I'm gonna put on my audiobook and get cracked. I just need help focusing a little bit, just a little bit. I'm having a really hard time with my focus. My focus needs more focus. Anyway, I'll come back when I have an update on the book. update. Where are we? Today is Wednesday the 27th, and I have not read much. I ended up stopping on We Used to Live Here. I don't know why, but I just can't get into it. I ended up not reading any of that, and I didn't end up reading anything yesterday after my last update because I was just tired and I wasn't feeling well. And when you're not feeling well and you're tired and you have a newborn, you just don't do things. It is what it is. So I didn't do anything yesterday. And then last night when I was with the baby for the evening or for the middle of the night, I read more of Wilder Girls. I've been listening to it on audio. So I was listening to it last night while I was coloring, which was really fun actually. Like I said, can listen to audiobooks better when I'm just like coloring or doing something that's not requiring me to think about what I have to do next. And then this morning I've been listening to it again on audio. It is currently 1:30 in the afternoon, and so I'm probably not gonna get a whole lot more progress done on the audiobook, but when I stopped last night I was at 34% and right now I'm at 42%, so I have 5 hours left of the audiobook for Wilder Girls. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I don't know if this book is good. I'm really debating on DNFing it again just because reading a book that's not doing anything is pointless, right? Like, this book is, I don't know, it's just not good. I don't know how else to say that without sounding rude, but it's not good, period. It's very like, I don't know. Okay, so we're 42% of the way through the book and I don't know what's going on. How am I 3 hours and 42 minutes into a book and I don't understand what's happening? That seems silly. That seems like a terrible writing style in my opinion. Like, I should know a general idea of what's going on, and I have no idea what's happening. Essentially, this story is about these girls who are infected by something. We don't really know what it is, we don't know what it means, and everyone's infection in the book is different and has different symptoms and different outward appearances, and like, there's not seem to be a connection to any of it. And we're specifically following like these 3 girls, and like the way they talk about all these things is really vague. It's just been a lot of describing the past is all that this book has been so far. Like, just describing how we got to the point that we're at right this second. That's it. Every time it's just a flashback of information about how we got to where we are right now. And it started kind of getting to an actual plot story of like a present day story, but that didn't happen until like 35% of the way into the book. For me personally, I feel like if my book isn't giving me information on like how are we 40% of the way through this book? That's like, I'm almost halfway through and nothing significant has happened. And to me, that is not good. Like, nothing significant has happened to the plot of this story. And I'm just trying to figure out how we're gonna have an actual plot and wrap it up in 50% of the way through the book. It's like, I don't feel like now is the time for a plot to be happening. I feel like a plot should have started a while ago. And like, it shouldn't take 40% of the book to set up the story to then create the plot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It feels like kind of weird, and like using the characters and character like flashbacks, like I said, to build and tell us how we got to where we are right now. I feel like it could have been done better. I don't know. I'm just not loving this book. I'm not loving it. There's a reason why I haven't been reading it. There's a reason why I didn't read it before. I only put this book on my TBR for this month because I had already started it before. And I'm trying to get my currently readings down. So I'm adding in books that I've started before into my TBRs so that I can start getting those done. Also, in the addition to the fact that I was able to get the audiobook through Libby from my library. So I was like, well, if I can get the audiobook, that'll help me read the book that I haven't been reading. So like, let's read the book. But honestly, y'all, like, I believe in DNFing. I believe in it to my core. I don't have the time or energy to be wasting my time on books that I'm not enjoying. I'm probably gonna give this book until about 50% of the way through to like do something, just because like I said, I already have the audiobook. I've gotten this far, but like if the story doesn't get interesting by the time we get to 50% through, I will be DNFing this book. Like I said, I don't have a problem DNFing. I actually got a book, Mr. Magic, I think is the book. It was a newer book this past year. It looked so cool. The like cover, it was one of those don't judge a book by its cover things, because the cover was so cool. First of all, it was a soft touch cover, which I love, but it was like retro. It was bright pink with like a retro TV with like the, if you remember in the 90s, if you're that old, whenever TV ended, it had just like no program showing screen, and that's what the cover looked like. It was really cool looking. The story sounded so interesting. It was about these kids who were on a TV show, but no one remembers like people can remember the TV show, but no one can find any like evidence that the show actually existed, and like no one knows where these kids went because an incident happened, and like you're trying to learn about what the incident was, and like they all come back together as adults, and like it was an interesting like premise, and I was like, oh, this sounds so good. I got probably 90% of the way through that book and was like, I'm done. I DNF'd it. I had 20 pages left to go. Actually, it was either 70 or 20 pages. I don't remember, but I had that far to go, and I was like, no, I can't do it. I'm not wasting my time. It was very upsetting. I've seen other books by the author who wrote that too, but other people have read her other books and have made comments of like DNFing the book as well. So I think potentially it's just a thing of like her writing style is just very specific to certain types of people. It was a very slow paced story. It didn't feel like it was really building to anything. Like I said, I got 90% of the way through and was like, I realized 90% of the way through, I actually don't care about these characters or what happens to them or what's going on. I actually don't even know what's going on. It's taking so long for us to grasp what's happening. And I'm almost 100% sure that I already knew what was going on and was just like waiting for that to show up in the story. And like I said, 90% of the way through, and I'm like, okay, there's nothing's happening. Nothing's happening here. I'm not getting the resolution. I didn't even skip to the end. I didn't look up spoilers either on like what the ending was. I just stopped reading it because I didn't care. Like I just realized I don't care about these characters or what happens to them at all. Anyway, that was a tangent about DNFing books, but that is where I'm at with reading. I should probably get back to reading here in just a second, but I wanted to show you guys my current TBR situation. I'm probably gonna make a video about my TBR. If it doesn't come out before this video, I will be making a video about all the books on my TBR. This is my office, by the way. I haven't shown it in a vlog yet, I don't believe. I redecorated it. When we moved in, I painted the walls this green color. This couch is actually from our living room set. I'm so rambly. I have so many things I want to talk about. This is what happens when you're a new mom and you don't go anywhere and you don't have anyone to talk to, and so you just ramble to yourself on a camera when you don't have adults to talk to. Anyway, we're doing it again. I want to show you my TBR situation. This cabinet, this was actually in our dining room, but I moved it into my office. So I put it in the closet here, kind of pushed in this way because I still need to access stuff on the side here. This is my TBR cabinet. These are all the books that I still need to read. I have separated them. There's more in here. Don't worry. Don't worry, we have more. There's so many books. I have separated them into categories kind of a little bit. These are like thrillers and horrors kind of mixed in together here. And then more horrors on this side. And then I have my manga things here. And then I just have some young adult books here. I'm reading the Small Spaces series. So I got all the books for it. So I have 3 others here, and then in the middle here is young adult slash fantasy slash nonfiction. So, and like historical literature, is that what you would call that? Classics, and then also a lit fic. Yeah. Anyway, so this is my TBR section. There's no books behind anything. It's all brought to the front, so I'm really grateful for that. Like, this is all that I have. I am trying to, like I said, get through this so that I don't have so many books just sitting here all the time. I don't like the idea of having 1,000,000,001 books. I do have books I need to add in here because I have some that I have not or that I just got recently, so need to add those. But here's like a quick view of like some of the books that I have. These are actually some, I believe, young adult horror that I had gotten a long time ago, and I've read the first book and I remember really liking it, and went back to the bookstore one day and they had 2 more in the set, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was a series. Bought the other 2 and never read them. This book is from, okay, yeah, 2014. So I've had this book since 2014, and then we have fantasy books over here. I really want to read Tress of Emerald City, or Emerald Sea. I really want to read this Jasad Air. I really want to get to these Amari and the Night Brother series books, because, which also, can I say, I hate this. I hate that these don't match. I hate that one is, oh, that drives me nuts, but it's fine. I really want to get to those though, because I heard it's like supposed to be like a Harry Potter-esque type thing. And then over here we have, like I said, some more horror books. I think of all the books in this section that I want to read, I don't know that I actually care about any of these books that much. I do want to read House of Leaves at some point, but I have a feeling that is going to be a like whole adventure, and I might vlog just reading this book in general. And then all of my anime series that I have going. So that's my TBR section. In this cabinet, I have double stacked all of my books that I have read that I want to keep. So I don't keep every book that I've read. I only keep the ones that I really enjoyed and would see myself reading again. I have more books than that as well. So like I have this curiosity cabinet thing, and I'm using books as like props in there. I have a lot more books to read and that need to be added to the TBR cabinet, if you will. I think that's all the update I have for right now for today. I'm gonna listen to Wilder Girls get to 50% and see where we're at that point. If it ain't shaking and moving by then, like I said, I'm DNFing. I also started physically reading Dearest. First of all, as a new mom, I absolutely am loving how this book starts. So this book is about a mother. She has a baby, and after having her baby, weird things just start happening. Some weird things happen in her home. Her mom's involved in some way, and it's uncomfortable and weird there too for some reason. Not 100% certain why, but all of that to say, it's so good so far. I am on page 23. I read it for probably like 20 minutes. I decided to switch to this instead of reading We Used to Live Here because it's shorter, and also the text was bigger, pages were whatever, so it's gonna take me a lot less time to read is basically where I'm getting at. Just because I get, like I said, I'm just, that's how I feel about it. Right now. I know this is widely beloved, and I'll probably move it into December and read it into December because we're running out of time and I'm not gonna finish all these books in time. But right now, it's just not happening. And then I also had started, not yesterday, but this weekend, started episode 13. I started reading that one on the Kindle because this one is on Kindle Unlimited as of right now, so I can read it wherever. I think this one is one that I would be more interested in reading physically though, because it has mixed media in it. I also really, I don't know what, there's something about holding this book that makes me happy. I like the way it feels. I like the colors of it. I like, there's just, I don't know what it is about this book, but there's something about it that I just love. Little one's getting fussy, so I will check back in with you guys in a little while. reading update. Obviously, I am in bed now. It is 9 o'clock at night on Wednesday. I listened to more of the Wilder Girls audiobook today. I think I didn't make it very much further than I did when I checked in last time, but I made it to 53% of the way in. And nothing has happened still. We're still just doing whatever we're doing. So I started reading Dearest again because I just got bored of that audiobook, I'm not gonna lie. That book is lame. So now I'm reading Dearest, and update on where I'm at. Oh, we're still on page 23. I checked in on that already, I think. I'm on page 23 of Dearest, so I'm reading more of that. And we're going to take a pause on the audiobook for Wilder Girls for today. Pick it up tomorrow. We'll see. I'm gonna read Dearest for a little while and then just go to sleep. Let's do an update. Where are we now? I have not finished my goal of reading all of the books on my November TBR. Of course, I set up the TBR halfway through the month, so I didn't start this TBR until the 16th. However, I did not finish my goal either. So, all that being said, currently, the last time we talked, I said I was going to DNF Wilder Girls. I actually decided to go ahead and finish it. So I did finish it. I finished that Friday, the 29th. I started reading more of Dearest, and then I got the audiobook for We Used to Live Here, but I haven't made significant progress on either one of them. I'm probably like 25% of the way in on both of them. That's where we're at. That's where we're ending November's reading. So we got through the Lisa Jewell book. We read that. We read Wilder Girls and got through that. I just did not get through any of the rest of the book. Started them, but didn't finish any of them. So they'll be moving into December's TBR. All right, so Future Angel here to end this vlog. Clearly past November, December, Angel was going through it, okay? She had a lot going on with that baby and didn't have time to film an outro and properly review any of the books, really. So I'm here to kind of review what we read and then also talk about Dearest because I did finish that in December. And then we'll just talk about future plans for the other books that I started in that vlog but never finished. So we have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I believe I ended up giving that a 4-star. Great book overall. Again, some of the things I already talked about of it being kind of problematic in the end. There was just some things in there about domestic violence and just some family violence things that the way that we were spoken about was just kind of off and I wasn't a fan of. But generally speaking, the book was great. The ending was something that I did not see coming. So I didn't love that it was something that was left open-ended, but overall, it was a great book. As for Wilder Girls, I don't believe that people actually liked that book. It must have been something about when it was written. I can't fathom someone reading Wilder Girl today and being like, that was the best book I've read. It's not good. I'm so sorry to the girls who love it. I do believe this was on Books and Lala's top book of one of her years of reading. She's doing her 10 years of booktube like review, and I believe she posted a video during Lalamas that it was one of her top books of the year or something like that for one of the years that she's been on booktube, and I just don't see it. I don't get it. I don't think it was good. I think it was really bad. I think it was poorly written. I think that we got nowhere fast. We got nowhere ever, actually. The ending was also kind of open-ended on that book, and I don't believe there's ever a follow-up to it, so I don't even know like what happens after that. It just wasn't good. It was a bad book, period. That's just my take on it. Sorry to the girls who love it, but that book is awful and wasted my time. I'm actually irritated looking back in January, looking back then and seeing that I actually finished that book when I had all these other books that I wanted to read and should have read instead. Like, I would have rather my past self had read episode 13 instead of reading Wilder Girl and only getting halfway through it versus like reading a book that sucks. So the next book that I read that didn't get finished in the vlog was Dearest. I finished that in December. You guys, I loved that book. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved everything about Dearest. Part of that very much so has to do with the fact that I am a new mom And so it had a lot of things to do with being a mom in the book. Just the way that she would talk about certain mom things, I just could relate. I could relate to a lot of it, especially because the beginning half of the book is, well, all of the book is really her dealing with having a newborn who is less than a month old. And at the time that I'd started reading that book, I was also dealing with a newborn that was less than a month old, and just was reflecting on some of the things she was struggling with, some of the things she was contemplating, and just like how she was feeling about things. I will say it takes a wild turn and we no longer relate for some of the book, but generally speaking, for the most part, her feelings towards her daughter and her baby and like the life that she was living and the things she was going through, I was just like, girl, you see me, I am seen. I felt so seen in that book. I highlighted so many things in that book that were just amazing quotes. If you haven't read it and you are a mom, I recommend reading it. If you're not a mom, I don't know if it'll hit the same way that it hit for me, and I think that's really why it hit. I would love, with separation in time, to reread it again at some point, maybe in the next year or two, and see if I still feel the same way. But that was how I felt about Dearest. As for We Used to Live Here, you'll see that book being finished in my vlog coming on Sunday. I'm reading We Used to Live Here for Winterween this year. I've never participated in a readathon. This is my first one and I'm really excited about it. But I will be reading We Used to Live Here in that vlog, and you'll get to see how that goes. It was really fun watching back my footage from November where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to read this. It's so good 4 pages in. And I'm 100 pages into the books, just to note. I'm 100 pages into the book now, and this angel doesn't know that angel. I don't know how I read 4 pages and was like, oh my gosh, this book is amazing. But we'll see how it goes in the reading vlog. Maybe things change, maybe tides turn. Who knows? So I hope to see you guys on Sunday for the next vlog of me doing Winterween. It's going to be so much fun. So I'll see you guys on Sunday. Bye.